Hey guys, Downphoenix here, and it's been such a shame to hear about Saturo Iwata. In case you haven't heard, Saturo Iwata passed away on July 11th at the age of 55. He was Nintendo's president since 2002 and has been responsible for a lot of the growth that Nintendo has had, going from the GameCube over to the DS and the Wii. He's led Nintendo from, at that time, their least selling home console to their biggest selling handheld and home consoles ever. And not to mention, of course, the DS is the second best selling system of all time. I think it was less than 1 million off of what the PlayStation 2 did. So he really has made a huge contribution as a president of Nintendo, but he's also done a lot of work prior to that, helping, of course, lead HAL Laboratories, which is one of the studios that Nintendo owns now. And he's obviously worked on a lot of games, including Kirby and Earthbound and Pokemon and, all kinds of games you can imagine here. From what I understand, I'm playing Balloon Fight, which is supposedly his first game that he's ever made. I know I've kind of, in the past, not covered Nintendo games on my own channel, but I figure I'd make a special exception because Nintendo has just been such an inspiration for gaming in general, but especially me. I've been playing Nintendo games since a very young age. I think I was maybe 5 years old or so, very first time I played a Nintendo game. And I've been a huge fan, more or less, since then. Balloon Fight's a pretty interesting little game. It's got its own take on Joust, that formula where you basically are trying to, knock out the enemies and things like that. It's a very difficult game, though. I mean, Joust is too, but this game has a lot of physics and things like that going on. Very complex game for this time period, and it's really fun. Plus, one of the interesting things is this is one of the first two-player co-op games. You can actually play this game two-player co-op, which is well beyond, well before games like Contra and Bubble Bobble and things like that, which were some of the original co-op games a lot of people think about. Gotta wait for this guy to die, though. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting little game. But while I'm playing this, I wanted to kind of talk about some of Saturo Iwata's contributions. I mean, he has been a major force in the industry in some way or other. I died there, of course. But, over the... crap, I died again. Or about to. There we go. But anyways, he has worked on numerous games over the years. And, I mean, just the breadth of amount, Geez, I'm so flustered, it's just so hard to talk about this, honestly. It's only been a day or two since the announcement, and it's just been tragic for the industry, man. It really has. Anybody that's involved, players, veterans, all that good stuff. And about to drown. But, yeah, Balloon Fight, obviously one of his first games ever. And he's been a huge part of Nintendo and HAL Laboratories this whole time. I mean, I understand that he apparently saved Earthbound from getting canceled. And that's a huge, huge thank you to him for that. Because Earthbound is one of my favorite Nintendo RPGs. It's got some pretty dated gameplay, even by that standard. But it was such a unique game, the way that it tackled a modern theme, and it had a lot of humor and things like that. These weren't things that we had in RPGs at that time. Obviously, people that played Mother, the original, Earthbound game in Japan, obviously knew what was up. Hey, that sound effect was from Metroid. Copying sound effects, I see. Metroid. But, yeah, it's really interesting. He's worked on a lot of games with HAL. Probably the biggest ones that people would be aware of are the Kirby franchise and the Smash Brothers franchise. That's right. Iwata was like one of the producers of Super Smash Brothers, which is one of Nintendo's biggest franchises of all time. He's helped in numerous Pokemon games. There's Pokemon Stadium, I think it is, for Nintendo 64. He apparently programmed the battle system for that game and did it in just a matter of a week, which is pretty impressive. I mean, thinking of this kind of game development, you know, it seems like it's been a lot more complex and time-consuming as the generations have went on. You know, as this power of the systems has advanced and things like that. I got my butt totally annihilated here. It's a very challenging game because the physics and everything like that, the inertia, it takes a lot of work to get down. But generally, obviously, you want to be on the higher end of things that helps you survive longer. But it's just really interesting, you know, I mean, the creative genius that Iwata has had through the years. And it's really interesting that we're able to look at a game this old and antiquated and yet see a lot of design philosophy that hasn't even been around much at all at this time. I mean, obviously we had physics and things like that, you know, in games, but it was pretty rudimentary compared to what this game has done. And this is just more or less the beginning of his legacy. I would probably say the biggest franchise that Iwata has worked on is the Kirby franchise, because it's just been a huge franchise. You know, it's been one of Nintendo's most popular characters. And, you know, it's been one of the most critically acclaimed game series they've ever had. I mean, you think of, like, a lot of Nintendo franchises, and even some of the major ones, like Zelda and Metroid, have had their duds here and there. But, I really can't think of any on the Kirby franchise, that maybe some of the really weird ones on the DS possibly, but even then those weren't really duds, they were just like kind of experimental. But yeah, you know, it's just been an excellent resume of games, you know, and a lot of people may underscore Iwata's contributions because he is the Nintendo of, you know, president, and think he's just a figurehead for the company, but he's been one of the biggest contributions for game development of the 80s and 90s, and even though he probably hasn't had a whole lot of involvement himself in developing these games, bonus stage, he's always had a nice core philosophy to the company over the years, and you know, he's really helped drive that growth, you know, after taking over for Yamauchi, I think it was, you know, that was the previous Nintendo president. And I'm not going to get all the balloons. Oh, well. But, yeah, it's just, you know, I want to kind of explain a few things about Iwata, you know, check out his information online, you know, and just see what all he has done throughout the years, because it's a very impressive list of things. You know, I'm just shocked at all the stuff that he's done for Nintendo and for the gaming industry as a whole. He is survived by his wife. Which I really, you know, it's kind of sad, you know, to hear that he's didn't have any children, but in a way, you know, we were his children. You know, he made these games in, you know, his own way, whether he was just a programmer or a producer or an advisor or whatever the case might be. You know, he helped contribute to a lot of the games that we enjoyed as children and still enjoy to this day. And I just don't really think there's any way to underscore that. You know, nobody's going to take away that contribution. So, I guess at this point, you know, it's going to be interesting to see where Nintendo will go now. But wherever they do go, I don't think they'll ever forget Iwata's legacy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and leave some thoughts in the comments about some of your favorite Nintendo games or Iwata games or whatever. But till then, Downphoenix out.